Jolene, will you please lead us in the flag salute?
I will. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Klein. Here. Edwards. Here. Keller.
Here.
Harrison.
Here.
Lindsay Smith. He's trying to remember to not say it. And Mr. Lewis, thank you for coming.
Are there any changes to the agenda or additions or anything like that? Okay, looking for approval of the PCOE USD agenda.
To approve. Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public input. I have, as of right now, one request. That's for Daryl Hutchins.
Is it already that time?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, where do I stand? Here,
Sure. That looks good.
okay, two things. These two have already seen it. I've started something in PCTA, I think it's good, I should have started it earlier, I just didn't think of it. It's called Daryl's Doodles. And it's basically a sheet of information. I speak with Bill here once a month. It's a good meeting. We go through what concerns are PCTA and I give him what he has. And then I always finish the meeting with, is there anything you want me to ask or tell the teachers? And he's jumped on it twice now. And I do my best to work on that. And one of them was, for example, Christy does these surveys and he said, we really need the teachers to participate in those surveys. It's really important that we get participation. So I was going to send you a note and find out if there has been an increase since I've been encouraging that. But anyway, the reason why I mention this is I sent the doodles out with the information for our reps. And I already heard from one of them that said, thank you, because what I did was I was here last month and listened to the calendar vote. And I know what the teachers wanted. And at times say, oh my goodness, here we go, our opinions, and they just were ignored. And that wasn't the case. You guys didn't ignore anybody's opinions. You approached the calendar decision in a fair, equitable way. You measured out the information you had. You looked at the survey that Christy had put out, and you said, our best decision is this. And I saw that. And so in these doodles, I basically communicated that in the doodles. I put your survey. I said, these are the graphs they looked at. This was the discussion that they had. This is why they made the decision. And I already heard from one of the teachers who said, thank you. We never do get to see how decisions were made. And I can see how the decision was made. It makes me feel better of that decision. I haven't heard from a lot of teachers, I think, because the teachers are so busy that they haven't really looked at that yet. But anyway, so I end that part of the discussion with saying, if there's ever anything you guys want me to communicate to the teachers, please shoot me an email. I will continue to ask that question of Bill every month. Is there anything that you want me to say? Christy, same thing. If there's anything that we need to communicate to teachers, please let me know. I'll include that in my communications. Okay, that's one. The second is a simple one. Thank you. Just thank you. I've heard from a lot of teachers when they received their bonus because of the fact that things were, what's it called? Whatever it is. When they went back and it was retroactive, the raise was retroactive, that became a Christmas bonus. But just seeing their December paycheck, I've heard from teachers that thank you. So thank you for the raise. Thank you for the negotiating team. Thank you for working with us, and I, on behalf of my teachers, thank you. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else turned in a slip? Is there anyone else here who wants to be heard at this time? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the next item, which is the quarterly report on the Williams uniform complaints from our superintendent.
We report these first board meeting after the end of the quarter, reporting to you that we had 0 Williams complaints for PUSD and 0 Williams complaints for PCOE in Q2. We'll be back in April.
Great, thank you. Next item up is student achievement, and I'm calling Christy Warren.
Good evening. Before you have the student accountability report process that we do. They're published for the year prior, so for 21-22. You also notice probably when you took a look at them, as I noted in the summary, that there's some holes in there. There's some data missing that hasn't been released by the state yet. We do have a February 1 ed code deadline that we are required to meet though. So I'm asking for your approval as is tonight. And then I'll bring them back as information in February so you can see the final copy. These are prepared by sites in various departments with all sorts of different school information.
Does the state extend the deadline if the state doesn't provide the data?
You would think that, but I haven't been notified of that. There is a chance that they would release it in the next week or two that we get it into our vendor document tracking. But in the interest of not having to call a special board meeting, we would have these for you tonight.
So I'm just, so when will we have a chance to comment on them when they come back? And then if there's any changes or anything that we see others?
Yeah, definitely. We'll bring them back on. I'll probably just email them to you so you have a little bit more time to look at them, but then officially as an information item in the February board meeting. You'll also have, just a heads up, our safety plans as well at that February board meeting. So you'll have multiple plans, trying to spread them out for you. We are seeking approval tonight.
We still need approval though.
Yes, please.
I'll move to approve.
Second, okay, we have a first and a second. Any further discussion at this time? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Aye, thank you. Next up is a report on facilities, from our superintendent.
Okay, so you should have an updated Measure B projects list, the pink heading on top. You'll notice that most of the contracts on there are dealing with CES and are pushed through to be able to make it accessible for the kids. If there's anything on there you have questions about, ask them now. If not, then I'll go into actually give you a verbal report on where we're at with different projects. Did they get a printed copy? Did we get an updated? Yeah,
So it's different than what is attached.
there's I think there's an addition at the bottom.
6.
Yes, please. My apologies. Well,
I just
she's,
have one quick question.
yeah, go ahead.
So on this list is $6,000 to have the HVAC system inspected, right? Can you tell us what they,
Well, what we know they're going to find is that the HVAC system at CS, right?
Yeah.
Was not built to tolerate cold weather. And it wasn't in the spec. Wasn't that they didn't do it correctly, they built it to the specs presented to them. It wasn't freeze rated, and so the water damage we had in the admin wing was because a coupling ruptured. We were very fortunate that Shane Branch was on site as our electrician. He was able to turn the water off. He cleaned up the water. He put blowers on it to help mitigate damages. And that's just, I think, an absolute testament to his professionalism and also hiring people within our community to do the work because they care. So we've done that, and we've actually already mitigated part of the problem with the bringing the glycol level in the system up to 35%, which drops that freeze number down to right around 0, I believe. And in the attic to get to 0, that's pretty cold. And then we also, because it's just been unseasonably cold and all the schools over breaks, we did not put them in the holiday mode. I'd rather spend a little more on propane than repairs that if they go unnoticed, impact student learning. So
So
with,
now it'll be inspected? So now that
We've-
you've done all that?
we've basically already done it.
Okay.
Um,
So
we
we're not
had-
expecting any more surprises? That's kind
No,
of
we
what I
had
get.
Ray Mack come in and evaluate the system.
Okay.
We trust Ray Mack, the work they've done. They're very reputable, and they came in, and then, the glycol, that was one of them. So I think we're good to go there.
So it's just an inspection of the existing system. They're not recommending any upgrades at this point.
Not that I've heard.
Okay.
Not that I've heard, but we will know. So CES, due to a different leak that we had as a result of an ice dam on a roof, which is in the facilities contracts for general fund. We had to do some water damage in the kindergarten room at CES. And everything's been done. We're waiting on the carpet to get here. Scheduled for 18th, 19th for install. They'll do the carpet coping. We'll be able to move Miss Bainbridge back into her classroom. Because of that, we moved Mr. Corey into his office earlier than he was ready to, but it's functional. Have to be careful. He's getting in a habit of walking through a window space instead of using the door. He's afraid once they put the window in, he's going to break his nose. But we love Mr. Corey out there. Just learning the new layout of the cafeteria. Once you move in, you really start to troubleshoot the facility. So those are on the punch list. But the space is nice, and it's really renovated that wing. They updated lighting, replaced all the ceiling tiles so they're not dingy and water stained. It's just a really nice look. By the end of this month, it's going to be a lot closer to final. And so Mr. Corey's looking forward to that. Got some electrical components like for the electronic monitoring of the door for remote access to be able to unlock. It's on back order, but Comer Electric's wiring up some alternatives for us so we can move the administrative assistant in there to be able to man the new front door. And it's going to be a great space for the kids. So we're really excited about that. Punch list for Quincy High HVAC supposed to be done at the end of this month. Shane Branch is working on the lights on the outdoor field up in Portola Junior Senior, weather permitting. I mean, his equipment's up there. He's got to be able to get in there. Some of you might have saw some pictures of Quincy High School last night. We had a big flood out on our new fields. And originally we were, did the storm drain fail? Well, it wasn't the storm drain, it was the creek in which it drains to backed up. So those creek level rose, or the ditch level rose, so did the water out there. So waiting to hear from Mr. Hawkins. There was an outbuilding out there that, I don't know, probably 18 inches of water. So we need to see if we had any damages from that. And then once water recedes, it didn't look like it actually flooded the grass. It looks like it flooded where the decomposed granite was and where that drain, everything slopes down. So we're looking forward to seeing that. And they'll complete the paving once the snow paving and concrete work at QHS once snow goes out. And we're probably, I think the estimate's about 75% done out there. So they'll get that wrapped up right away. So that's the update on our projects. Does anyone have any questions on the spreadsheet? Dave?
The Chester Elementary, our next Chester meeting for the board, is that at the elementary school or?
We can We had it at high school, so yeah, if they're
Nice to
ready,
Have a, just be able to see it and see what's, a
absolutely.
little bit of a tour.
Let's make a note of that.
It's usually.
Okay. So I think we're there. It will be done. by
Otherwise,
then.
down the road.
I know we don't have funding allocated for it at this point, but does it make sense while we're mobilizing to pay Quincy High School to pick up the tennis court parking lot?
Kevin is either getting us a quote on that, but we can make a decision on that later because they will be there with the machine and
Mobilize once.
finish it. Yeah, I mean, right now the companies are charging about $5,000 to mobilize equipment. So let's look at it and hoping by next meeting, a lot of the dust will have settled on the Quincy project and we'll know exactly where we are in terms of how far it came in under versus the overage for paving. So what kind of room we have. Okay, of course. The general fund projects, you have the insurance project I just talked about with Lights Creek Construction for the leak mitigation. Just really want to say how much we appreciate. Ed had his crew in over the New Year's holiday. They worked all the way through the weekend to get it as ready as they could. If we could have gotten the carpet squares for the floor, it would have been done when the kids came back. So it's great there. The other two you see on there, Ed Hamrick's crew is doing the renovation for the project, the apartments that we have that we're renovating. One is completely done, ready for the cabinets and the appliances and everything, and everything's ordered. The third line there is Mauser Brothers for the cabinet work. That number is for all 3 units and all the sinks and the countertops. So I think we'll have those projects wrapped up by March. And that'll be really great as Christie's and Megan are gonna be hot on the recruiting trail to let folks know we're gonna have some housing available for teachers. So that's where we're at. Questions? All right. Oh, yeah, we need approval for A then B.
We're receiving a motion for A and B.
I'll move to approve the Measure B project updates. As submitted, as revised things.
Second that.
Second. Any additional questions or further questions? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
And next item, I guess, is a resolution under fiscal, is it?
We need B2, so I'll report of general fund expenditures as presented.
I will second. Well,
Okay, so we have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Okay, now, the next item, number 10, fiscal.
So what you have in front of you is the resolution for us to be able to enter into contract without public disclosure or bid in emergency situations. Basically, we're authorizing this retroactively for what we did at CES over Christmas vacation.
And that's the item that's mentioned in
There's 10A.
one of the facilities contracts.
Yes.
And this would be a roll call vote, right? Because it's a resolution. Okay. Looking for a first and a second.
I'll move to approve USD resolution 1623.
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. This is a roll call vote.
Aye. Corvus,
Oh, aye.
Edmund,
Aye.
Harrison.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye. Passed. And there's an item B also.
So in the document, you see a quote for 2 buses. We have not replaced buses in the district since 2014. We currently have buses on the road that we use as backups that have 350,000 miles on them. They need to retire. The goal of this is we're actually going to decommission 2 buses. Actually, we're going to decommission 4. They'll all go to salvage. And then, huh?
4 diesels?
Yes.
Okay.
They have 300,000+ miles on them, and then we're gonna bring our bus fleet to 30. And then the plan is we will then be planning to purchase a new bus every 3 years after this to try to get our fleet more current and regenerated. We will buy diesels as long as we can because they work better up here in the mountains. They have a longer range, things like that. We're going to finance them so we don't take a large hit to the general fund right now. Should the economy get better and we see some influx of one-time money again in a year or 2, we can pay it off without any penalty. They had given us the original quote. I sent it back, said, hey, we're small, you don't need to make it worth an email. And this is just an information item for you all, to let you know that we're getting ready to enter into this contract and start to upgrade our bus fleet.
What's the bottom line, even though it's financed?
400 and, yeah, it's like 454,
Okay.
something like that. When I started in education, you could buy a top line bus with all the bells and whistles for 109,000. So it definitely goes up. These are big buses, 81 passenger. But right
You said
now,
that's for 2, right? Is that what you
Yeah.
said? Yeah. okay.
that's for 2.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're 81 passenger buses. Right now, we just switched a bus out from Greenville out into Portola to run the CRC route, and that's a 50 passenger bus. So we're getting as much bang for our buck with this as we can.
So you're proposing taking this out of the general fund?
That's, right now, yes, we have some money left, some ESSER funds left, but it's a big chunk. And so don't know that we want to spend that right now
Thanks.
on those. We're still figuring out what the best balance is and how to pay for it.
So this is just information, right?
This is information, just because of what the budget codes are. The fiscal is still working that out, the best way to do it. But we're going to move forward before these diesel buses disappear.
Thank you. Anything else on that? Next item is under leadership area, and some resolution is going to recognize tonight. Is there anything you wanted to say about it?
So we just, in the work that we're doing with our leadership team and our schools, going back, we realized we didn't have a resolution recognizing Black History Month. And so I'm a big one for when you recognize before, instead of at a board meeting halfway through, because sometimes that appears to be an afterthought. So this resolution is recognizing February as Black History Month. And
May I read it, please? Okay, this, as you mentioned, this is recognizing and honoring Black History Month by the Plymouth County Board of Education and Plymouth Unified School District. The text of the resolution reads as follows. In 1915, half a century after the 13th Amendment abolished slavery in the United States and grew out of Negro History Week, the creation of noted historian Carter G. Woodson and other prominent African Americans. And whereas with the Civil Rights Movement and a growing awareness of Black identity, Black History Month or National African American History Month evolved to an annual celebration of achievements by Black Americans and a time for recognizing the central role of African Americans' U.S. history. And whereas the crisis of Black education brings focus to the persistently imposed racial barriers to equal education and the crucial role of education in the history of African Americans, beginning with the days of slavery, when it was unlawful for slaves to learn to read and write, and continuing today, where public schools can lack resources, endure overcrowding, and exhibit racial achievement gaps. And whereas the contributions of African Americans from all walks of life and their endeavors to learn and thrive throughout history and make unforgettable marks in our nation as artists, scientists, educators, business people, influential thinkers, members of the faith community, athletes, and political and governmental leaders reflects the greatness of the United States. And whereas remaining hopeful and confident about the path ahead and a time to acknowledge the courageous fight for the rights, liberties, and freedoms of all Americans, the Plymouth County Board of Education and Plymouth Unified School District Board of Trustees observes and honors Black History Month and encourages educators, students, and families to learn about the heritage and achievements of African Americans. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Plymouth County Board of Education and the Plymouth Unified School District Board of Trustees and Superintendent of Schools hereby adopt this resolution to honor Black History Month and recognize the tremendous contributions made by African Americans. And with that, I entertain the motion to pass the resolution.
I'll move to approve resolutions PCOE number 2223-07 and PUSD number 1624 as read.
Thank you. We have a first
And second.
and we have a second. Any comments at all? Okay, this is a roll call resolution, and roll call, please.
Klein.
Aye.
Moravец.
Aye.
Edlin.
Aye.
Harrison. Aye. Kelly.
Aye. It's passed and adopted by the board and both the Board of Education and the school district on January. Next up, we have consent items. Minutes from the board meeting of December 14th, 2022.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item B is the, under the consent items, as PUSD check registers for the month of December 2022.
Approve.
I'll second.
We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed us. Service contracts included with this agenda.
Didn't see any.
We keep that on there just in case something came up that we needed to have. So there are.
We have a first.
There are no.
There's nothing there.
Okay. Field trips.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
We have a second. Any questions? And it was last month that we approved the field trip for the band trip,
Yes,
and that's scheduled for this week. isn't it?
that is this week.
Okay, great. Okay. So we have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. And going to closed session.
Well, kind of, it's gonna be, we're gonna be in there for a minute.